Good morning, everyone, and welcome to First Parish Plymouth. My name is the Reverend Lavoie, and I am the minister here, taking on another role this morning as the worship associate. My pronouns are he, him, and his. If you are new and unfamiliar with the building, please ask anyone if you need to find a restroom or something. And also there is a guest log by the door if you'd like to receive our weekly email. We'd love to have your contact information. The first part of our service is filmed and recorded. And then following the benediction, the recording will end, and we will go into our candles section. And for privacy reasons, that is not recorded. Our services are then posted on Facebook, on our YouTube channel, and also on local public access TV stations. And so a special welcome to all of you who are watching this through one of those venues. We're delighted to have you as part of our church community this morning and invite you to visit our website at firstparishplymouthuu.org if you'd like any information about the congregation or about Unitarian Universalism, or if you'd like to get in contact with me, you can find my contact information through the website. We have masks available. I don't think I brought up the box of masks, but we have them available. There are some available. We are still at this point inviting people to wear a mask to sing because it just is safer for everyone until we can get enough spring weather in here that we can open the windows and have some better circulation. And we invite you after the service to join us for coffee hour, which will be in the parlor next door and a few doors down the hall where the coffee room is located, so we have people moving around. Whoever you are, whomever you love, whatever you believe, wherever you are on your journey, you are welcome with us this hour. Let us walk together. And I want to take a couple of minutes to introduce our speakers today. Many of us know the Reverend Dr. Judith Campbell, retired, well, semi-retired, you're never going to retire. UU minister who writes poetry, teaches writing classes, and she is working with our congregation in, is it Rockland? No.
With Rockland.
Rockland.
Affiliated minister.
She's an affiliated minister. There's a small UU congregation in Rockland. We're also very excited to welcome this morning Dominique Durden, also known as MoMA. She is a poet who lives in Rockland. She's an avid reader and lover of all things artistic. Her passion has always been music, poetry, and the arts as a whole. Poetry is her truth. Being able to find healing through her platform as an artist is a gift she is truly thankful for. She's worn many hats. She's been a journalist, a student, a sales associate, and a teacher. But the thing she loves most is being an artist. And she has successfully published her first chapbook, Birdsong, which is available through Amazon. When she's not performing, she can be found working her 9 to 5 or reading, writing, and singing with a hot cup of tea not too far away. We are really pleased and delighted to have you with us today. Thank you.
myself Mandarin. Jesse. And I'll tell you how we met when we do our thing. I'm going to, our call to worship this morning is a poem by Hildegard of Bingen, and I believe your theme for this month is resistance.
Yes.
And Hildegard lived in the 11th and 12th century. She was a very, very powerful theologian, nun, physician, artist, musician, calligrapher. Some of her herbal medicines are still in use today. Her recipes and the things that she came up with to do. She's an amazing, amazing woman. And she saw the creation as not having a gender, and the holy as being the spirit of creation, or the greening of the spirit. Amazing, and she drove the patriarchy crazy, and she didn't stop. She kept it up. One of her poems, and our call to worship. O greening branch, you stand in your nobility. Like the rising dawn, rejoice now and exult, and deign to free the fools we are from our long slavery to evil. Hold out your hand and lift us up. Come, let us worship together. And our opening hymn, would you stand as you are willing and able or comfortable, is
Number 108, how can I keep this?
Number 108, How Can I Keep From Singing, which is one of my all-time favorite songs.
Of the marathon bonding. So for all that means, let our chalice lighting be a prayer. And please join with me in reciting the words that are printed in your order of service. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in freedom, to speak the truth in love, and to help one another. Please be seated.
So, saying it's the 10th anniversary of the marathon bombing was not something I was going to bring up, but it reminded me of something. And I wanted to share it with you. 10 years ago, I took a group of 15 youth on a service trip, and we went to the poorest areas of Jamaica. When you went to this area, if you wanted a shower, there was a pipe that came out of the wall. That was your shower. There was no hot and cold. There was no cover on it. There was no such thing as a rain shower. It was just water coming out. Parents were very scared. They were sending their children off to a place they didn't know. They were worried. We had LGBTQ children and parents coming with us, and we were warned that that could be dangerous. We got there and were greeted by the most wonderful, joyful, happy, thankful people in the world. And then, 2 days later, we got messages that way back here in Boston, in our home, there were bombings. It was the most surreal experience we had ever had, that we went away to the dangerous place, and right back here was where the danger was. Now, on to poetry. Well, I'm a teacher. I work with children. We do these things called nursery rhymes. But guess what? It's poetry. The thing that's really cool about the nursery rhymes is that we don't forget them. Nursery rhymes are a way to help children practice language. We actually use it to help teach them to read. We're part of that cycle where sometimes nursery rhymes are really good and really important. We have to do that every day with the kids. And then a few years later, don't do nursery rhymes, they don't do any good, they're no good for kids. And then a few years later, do the nursery rhymes, they're really good, you gotta do them with kids. So, some nursery rhymes to think about. Starlight, star bright. Twinkle, twinkle, little star. Did you know that Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star has 2 more verses we never, ever do? You know it?
I know at least one of them.
Well, I had to look it up because I had no idea. I should have called you Marcus. So, when the blazing sun is gone, when nothing shines upon, then you show your little light, twinkle, twinkle, all the night. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. Then the traveler in the dark thanks you for your tiny spark. He could not see which way to go if you did not twinkle so. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder where you are. Then there's Jack and Jill. I'm a little teapot. The Muffin Man. Value there is eat carbs. Now, the grand old Duke of York. Who remembers it?
10,000 men?
Yeah. He marched them up the hill one day and marched them down again. Yeah. They are poetry. Sometimes they're poetry in motion. Sometimes not. But they're poetry. And the importance there is that it doesn't matter how old you are, or where you are, or what you're doing in your life. You always have poetry in your heart. And now I'm going to take the children on a journey of learning and discovery as you talk more about poetry.
This little light of mine, I don't let it shine. This little light of mine, I don't let it shine. This little light of mine, I don't let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
You authored this, right? I believe this reading I'm about to share was authored by Judith, right? Okay. I always like to give a contribution.
If they like it, otherwise.
I'll own it if they don't.
Yeah.
All right, okay, we can do that. The poetic voice is rooted in the use and repetition of specific elements. Technical elements that make a poem recognizable as belonging to one poet. These elements are identified as grammar and syntax, form, music, subject matter, and last, the magic, the elusive connection between a reader and a poet that transcends the work. William Wordsworth, the English Romantic poet, described poetry as the spontaneous overflow of powerful feelings. I love that. The spontaneous overflow of powerful feelings. If you ask people why they write poetry, you'll get a wide variety of answers. Some for personal reasons, some for political reasons, and others because they simply enjoy it. Others may also say that poetry is the only way for them to understand their own thoughts and feelings. Many people will tell you writing poetry encourages you to use language in original ways, and it gives your brain room to wander and explore new ideas. But one of the most valuable benefits is that it helps you rediscover your creative side by giving yourself space to think outside the box. One of the most common reasons people write poetry is to better understand themselves or to try to figure out how they fit into the world around them. Writing poetry can be a therapeutic process because it allows people to explore their thoughts and feelings more creatively. By putting their thoughts into words and sharing them with others, poets can gain a better understanding of who they are and what they believe in. When we write poetry, we can reveal parts of ourselves that might otherwise remain hidden. We're less afraid to reveal those things because they don't have to go out into the world. They can stay in our notebooks or computer files where no one can see them. That way, we can be more honest with ourselves, and that can lead to more self-knowledge and understanding. Finally, I would direct your thinking to the beloved Mary Oliver, who is best known for her awe-filled, often hopeful reflections and observations on nature. A reviewer for the Harvard Review is quoted saying, "Mary Oliver's poetry is an excellent antidote for the excesses of civilization, for too much flurry and inattention in the baroque and cluttered conversations of our social and professional lives." We really need that antidote. Mary Oliver was a poet of wisdom and generosity, whose vision allows us to look intimately at a world not of our own making.
reasons I come here. Most of you know me, and pretty soon you're going to get to know Mo a little bit better. But I want to tell you how we met. I was putting together a service in February for my Rockland church. And it's Black History Month, and I wanted to talk about Black poetic voices, and particularly the ones that people really didn't know. You know, we know Langston Hughes and we know Paul Dunbar, but there's a lot of Black poets and Black women poets that people don't know. So I'm working on my sermon and I'm in my service, and I don't know, how many here have worked on the worship committee? You'll know, yeah, you too. Art and I go way back, in case you didn't know. Anyway, I'm about Wednesday in, so I get things pretty well set, because I do things in advance. I get a phone call from the worship director at the Rockland Church, all excited. Judy, I found a Black woman poet. She lives right here in Rockland, and I asked her to come and talk on Sunday. Oh, thank you, I said. This is before we met. She knows this story. So he was great. He said, I shouldn't have done that, huh? But I said, you're learning how to have a minister. I can roll with it. This is all part of the learning experience. Don't worry about it. We're not ever going to ask somebody to come and talk and be a part of us and say, oh, never mind. So I went on the web, he gave me the website, and I'm still a little bristly, you know. And I went on the website, and I fell in love. Okay? I read some of her poetry. I read some of her poetry. I read about her background, and the poetry is amazing. It's absolutely amazing. And it's important to me to tell that story because we met in unlikely circumstances, and I've appointed myself her grandmother. But the point where we begin, and by the way, she's just come out with another book. She will have some of these available at the coffee hour. I'm afraid this is going to go sideways. Would you take that off? Knowing me, I'll knock it off. Thanks. Anyway, here we are. I'm old enough to be her grandmother. We're two different colors, same gender, and we both write poetry. And we write poetry for the same reasons, because we have a feeling that won't stay inside. We have something to say. Poets are prophets. We write what we write to raise the consciousness of those who hear the poems we choose to share. Whether it be about women, whether it be about Black women, whether it be, I'm talking now about your theme for the month, resistance. Think about the poet that read at the inauguration, Andrea Gorman. Was that, I mean, poets, you may think we're nuts and sitting in a corner with our little pen and pencil, but we are the prophets. We are the prophets. We see things and we say things that other people either don't see or say or don't dare to see and say. And it's really important. So, I'm going to ask, think NPR now, okay? I'm Cokie Roberts. I'm going to ask some questions, and then she's going to read a poem, and then I'm going to do a little commentary on that. So, you get a little closer, and I'll bellow. What happens inside you when a poem is getting ready to happen? What is your process?
So my process is kind of strange because inspiration comes anywhere at any time. I have been, in the middle of a shift I used to work at Barnes and Noble, really living my Kathleen County dreams. And I would be in the middle of helping a customer, and I'd be like, "Can you just hold on for 5 minutes? I have to write a poem." And they'd be like, "What?" And I'm like, "I'm so sorry. I have to get it out, otherwise I'll lose it." It's almost like, you know, when you're making a cup of tea, right? And you put the water on to boil, and it's just like when it starts to get to that rolling boil, that's what it feels like when I'm writing a poem or a poem is about to come out. It feels like the rolling boil has just started, and if I don't write the poem, it's just gonna be, you know, the kettle is just screaming for 2 days. So yeah.
That's a nice analogy, I like that one. Oh, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. When do you have your poems ready to read?
Yeah, I put them up here.
Did I steal them?
Thank you for stealing.
Technical difficulty. Lisa?
Yes.
Oh,
Thank you.
just trying to be organized. When did you start writing poetry?
So I started writing poetry when I was 14, and originally I wasn't writing poems, I was actually writing music, because I come from a family of musicians. My mother sings, my brother does music as well.
You're gonna have to get closer to this microphone.
I'm so
This is
sorry.
old ears here.
So yes, I started writing when I was 14, and I originally started writing songs rather, because I come from a musician family. My mother sings, my grandmother, Lord rest her soul, was a singer. My grandfather was a singer. Pretty much everyone in my family sings, or can carry a tune in a bucket. And so I started writing, and I was like, okay, these are cute, but they're not done. And so I was like, well, let's try this as a poem. And I don't know what it was about trying the song as a poem that just clicked, but it stuck, and I haven't stopped writing poetry since.
Still adjusting this. A little closer. Okay, that's wonderful. Please. I asked you to start with a poem called Confirmation. Can you tell me what it was that prompted this particular poem in the middle of a transaction?
So Confirmation is a funny, there's a funny story behind Confirmation. So, I mean, none of you really know me that well except for Judy, but I'm actually getting married in 2 months. Thank you. And before I make any big decisions, I like to ask for a sign because I want to know if I'm making the right decision. And so I said, give me a sign that I can't miss. And the signs, it was signs plural, the signs were a family of deer, 5 of them, and then a ginormous swan in the middle of the road. I don't live near water. And green lights all the way to my mother's job and back home. And I was like, all right, thank you for clarifying. So this is Confirmation. I asked the stars if you were the one today. In response, I got a family of deer, a swan, and green lights all the way home. Thank you.
Green lights all the way home, I love it. Confirmation leads me directly into Heaven's Light. Tell me, it's a very different poem, tell me about this.
So, kind of in the vein of I'm getting married and I'm very excited about it. I wrote Heaven's Light before I met my fiance, and I didn't know who I was writing the poem for. And this is gonna be mushy until I met him. Yeah, I didn't know that the poem was for him until we actually like met, and then I was like, oh, so you're who I was writing about. This poem, I think I wrote this poem maybe 4 years ago. Might have been a little bit older, might be a little bit older than that. Because I wrote it in college. And yeah, I knew that there was a reason that I was writing the poem, I just wasn't sure what the reason was. And then I met John, so that was the reason. So here is Heaven's Light. Soft is the sunlight that so ignorantly clamors through our windows. We are one tangled soul inhabiting this space. Lend me your ear, I have a joke to tell you. In it, the punchline is my life without you in the picture. A half-hearted attempt at a favorite dish that ends with me ordering pizza and not eating altogether. You recover all that is lost to me and then some. Calm the waves of this ocean heart, I am satisfied. Reckless is the girl who stands on the edge. You make me feel like I'm standing on the edge, and still I refuse to jump. Hold me here. Hold this heart of mine steady. Calm the waves. We can worry about how we'll recover from life later, but for now, I want to watch you, sleeping in this ethereal light. Come away with me. Tell tomorrow to wait until tomorrow to be itself, but for now, we are out of office, so we'll have to take a message. I want to see the sunlight on your face again and again and again until the pines decay and we are dust and sunlight. Thank you.
I said she was good. I need a breath after she reads. I will count the times in my life. Sounds as much like a prayer as it is a poem. Tell me about it.
Okay, so that one is up. Let me grab it. Excuse me.
Hold on.
Sorry.
That's all right. You're not nervous anymore.
Oh, absolutely. Let's not get carried away. So this poem is actually entitled The Rebirth, which is funny because I try not to be like super, what's the word I'm looking for? Religious, if you will, when I'm writing, because I want my writing to be accessible to any and everyone. But this particular poem, it came, oh, bless you, thank you. I was having a rough time, which is the long and short of it. And I had had severe writer's block for at least 2.5 months. Hadn't written a thing, like would start poems and it was just like, okay, this isn't going anywhere, now I'm gonna go cry. But I was eating a pomegranate, and every time I eat a pomegranate, that's how I know that something is happening. Because I don't get the urge to eat pomegranate very often. And there have only been 2 times in my life, including the time that I wrote this poem, that I actually was like, I need to have a pomegranate. And so that's actually what broke the writer's block, was eating the pomegranate. And so this is the rebirth. I can count the times in my life where I've eaten the pomegranate fruit whole. 2. Once when I was just a girl, sitting at the kitchen table trying to discover herself. I was 9, halfway to the self-imposed expiration date. I'm 26 now. 8 years past my intended shelf life. Still eating the geode fruit when I need to find myself. Wishing on every arrow, turning every stone. Let the blood of this fruit cleanse me. Let it kill me. Let it birth me again. Thank you.
Would you read that again, please? Even more slowly.
Okay. I can count the times in my life where I've eaten a pomegranate fruit whole. 2. Once when I was just a girl sitting at the kitchen table, trying to discover herself. I was 9, halfway to the self-imposed expiration date. I'm 26 now, 8 years past my intended shelf life. Still eating the geode fruit when I need to find myself. Wishing on every arrow, turning every stone. Let the blood of this fruit cleanse me. Let it kill me. Let it birth me again. Thank you.
I want that line. I want to draw your attention to a line here. Still eating the geode fruit when I need to find myself. The image of, if you know what a geo is, a rock, it looks like a rock on the outside, you crack it open, and there's a whole treasure inside. It's absolutely beautiful. Persephone, the story of Persephone, just a little bit, yes, yes. Let the blood of the fruit cleanse me, let it kill me, let it birth me again. Love it. If we agree that poetry is a way to express our deepest feelings or our raw emotions, tell us then about bitter poem. Bitter poem.
So, the bitter poem is a poem that I wrote when, you guessed it, I was very bitter. I was going through one of the worst periods of my life. I had only one remaining grandparent, and she decided that she had had enough, and she passed away. And she and I were very close. Arguably the only person on this earth that knew me better than I knew myself. And, oh wow, didn't feel like that. And she was arguably the safest face that I had. Wow, sorry guys. And shortly after this was during the height of COVID, so, you know, she had passed on Juneteenth, but we had to wait like until July to actually have the service, because they weren't letting us, you know, do anything. And I can honestly, I still haven't recovered, which is fine. But shortly after having to bury my grandmother, a friend of mine from high school also mysteriously passed away. And so to have to bury my best friend and then immediately turn around and have to bury someone else that is literally the same age as me was just, it was not a fun time. And I was really, really, really angry. Because, I mean, that's one of the stages of grief, and I felt like it was righteous anger. So I was really mad at God. And some days I'm still mad. Because there are times where I wish that I could just call my grandmother and be like, Grandma, oh my God, you'll never believe what happened. Like, or, you know, be like, Grandma, I got a raise at work. Or Grandma, like, you know, this really weird niche thing happened and I'm really excited about it. And she'd be like, oh, that's great. So, yeah. This is the bitter poem. God is not good. God is not great. I will not thank him for this food. He will not sanctify it or purify it. I think he has bigger fish to fry with smaller mouths to feed. I think there are miracles more deserving of prayer than my measly Wendy's chicken sandwich. If I choke, I choke. This prayer isn't about a sandwich anyways. The prayer is about the blood on the Ave, the body in the bag, the hearts that broke when the coroner came for collection, a real grim reaper. This prayer is about the ache that I feel. Ache and ache and ache and then nothing. Nothing until something is back, and the something is ache. This prayer is about all the hurt we never talk about, how it wraps around us, just gently enough that we don't notice it choking us, and it does. Choke us, I mean. This prayer is about the rosaries around our necks, the ashes that sear our tongues. How does God love us if he lets us die alone? How does he love us if all he does is harvest our souls? Thank you.
I'm going to read a couple of lines of that poem, the ones that really touch me. This prayer isn't about a damn sandwich anyway. This prayer is about the blood on the avenue, the body in the bag, the hearts that broke when the coroner came for collection, a real grim reaper. This prayer is about the ache that I feel. Ache and ache and ache, and then nothing. Weird to hear it right back to you, isn't it? It's good. Now you know why I love it. Back to my script. That's really powerful, sweet. Really is. And don't ever feel bad about welling up. Abigail's in the congregation this morning. When I teach writing, I often say, if you laugh, you make yourself laugh, or you make yourself cry, or you make yourself take a couple of deep breaths to calm down. When you're writing, you're writing your soul. You're writing your most authentic self, because it's making you feel and think. And it's true. It's absolutely true. Finally, for this morning anyway, tell us about homecoming and why you wrote it.
So homecoming, I wrote, I believe I was in I think I might have been in the third year of college, which was a big deal because I'm the first in my family to, go to college and graduate. And I was really struggling. And I was trying to, find myself, and kind of come back to my body, after a series of just unfortunate events for Lemony Snicket fans. And so this was the poem that came out of that place of, I need to find me and get back to me, otherwise I will not be okay. So yeah, here's Homecoming in 4 parts. 1. Here I am, crawling out of the cradle of this clawfoot bathtub. There's a bottle of cheap wine next to a few candles with Coltrane saxophone singing sweet nothings into my ear. This is what I call intimacy. All the lights down low, all the distractions off. Just me, myself, and I. 2. It's time I did some gardening. But how do you focus on a garden when your house is burning down? I look for myself in the wildfire because I too am raging about everything. I'm still searching for the space to cry and to yell. 3. Hate is always the hardest weed to pull from the garden of your heart and the heaviest wave to drown under. 4. I am a quiet storm. I am looking for myself in every thunderstorm. I write in black and blue bruised ink for all the times I bludgeoned myself, so even in death I will be beautiful. I am dousing myself in the holy water that is gasoline, setting flame to every impurity. If you see my body, tell her I'm coming back to get her in a puff of smoke, or in the sour of the fermented grape, or in a torrential downpour. If you see my body, you tell her I'm coming back. Thank you.
I would like you to read that again. There's a good poem. You weren't expecting that. A good poem really needs to be heard twice, and this one is, this one breaks all the rules and follows all the rules. So please read it again. It's unbelievable.
Homecoming in 4 parts. 1. Here I am, crawling out of the cradle of this clawfoot bathtub. There's a bottle of cheap wine next to a few candles with Coltrane saxophone singing sweet nothings into my ear. This is what I call intimacy. All the lights down low, all the distractions off. Just me, myself, and I. 2. It's time I did some gardening. But how do you focus on a garden when your house is burning down? I look for myself in the wildfire because I too am raging about everything. I'm still searching for the space to cry and to yell. 3. Hate is always the hardest weed to pull from the garden of your heart and the heaviest wave to drown under. 4. I am a quiet storm. I am looking for myself in every thunderstorm. I write in black and blue bruised ink for all the times I've bludgeoned myself, so even in death I will still be beautiful. I am dousing myself in the holy water that is gasoline, setting flame to every impurity. If you see my body, tell her I'm coming back to get her in a puff of smoke, or in the sour of the fermented grape, or in a torrential downpour. If you see my body, you tell her I'm coming back.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you. And Momo will be at coffee hour. Please talk to her, ask her more questions. Her book, she has another one out, yay, another one out, but she couldn't get it in time to bring it here. But she has this, and she will sign it for you when you pay her. Our closing hymn this morning is number 326 in the Great Hymnal. Stand as you are willing or able. And let us. Gotta come sing with Browder for all that you did in making this so beautiful. And read one more poem from Hildegard of Bingen. Loving Tenderness. Loving tenderness abounds for all, from the darkest to the most eminent one beyond the stars. Exquisitely loving all, she breathes the kiss of peace upon the eternal soul. May it be so. Please be seated.
thanks also to Emily, Judy, Dominique, I prefer to call you Dominique if that's okay. And your poetry really, we're so delighted that you were here with us today. For all of us, our connection here, our commitment to this congregation is strong, and everything that you do and give and are with us is so much appreciated. So we now will gratefully receive your financial offerings for the work, ministry, and mission of First Parish in Plymouth.